once the boomers go away, I suspect that American politics in regards to Israel is going to decline precipitously. It's going to have a tremendous decline, and you will see a huge shift in how the United States does politics with Israel. And the reason I say that is because America's political discourse and America's political decisions are based on what people want. For the most part, they are based on what people want. And the reason why Donald Trump is warming up to Russia is because, well, it's one of the reasons, at least, is because it's not popular to be pro-war anymore. It's not. It is not popular to be pro-war. So it's hard to incentivize people to go to war when the overwhelming majority of your population is amazingly anti-war. The reason why America focuses so much on Israel is because, at least one of the reasons, right? There's a geopolitical factor in all this, but one of the major reasons why the U.S. supports Israel is because of all of the Zionists and the evangelicals. Once that goes away, you will see a shift in how people and how the U.S. government treats Israel. It will change, just because the populace will change, and because the electorate will change. Really, the nature, the general, not the nature, but the general vibe of American voters will be different. When you see Americans watching people like Ian Carroll, who's a huge critic of Israel, or when you see so many people, watching Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson, big critic of Israel. And you watch Tucker Carlson and he's giving off all of the, you have to read between the lines with that guy. But he's giving off all of the signs that he's a big critic of Israel. And he talks about how, he has that way of talking. He has that contour to him. I don't want to see my government just supporting, wars. And I just don't want to see it anymore. Supporting Israel, Gaza, what? I mean, that has nothing to do with America. And I heard him talking with Piers Morgan recently, and he was talking about World War II. And he said, I mean, I'm no fan of Hitler, but supporting Stalin? Stalin? Really? Are you kidding me? Stalin? And once you start hearing stuff like that, you know what you're dealing with. You know you're dealing with someone who is very critical of the official narrative. He is critical of the official World War II narrative. He may even be critical of the official Holocaust narrative. In fact, he already has shown a sign of that when he brought in some revisionist historian who said that the Nazis never really intended to kill so many people, but they felt like they had to kill all these people because, hey, they had all these Slavic slaves and POWs, so they just resorted to killing them. But that wasn't really the intention of the Third Reich. And so when you see that questioning of the official narrative, you know very well that it's a sign that there's a shift happening in the zeitgeist, a shift in how we see things. That's what it is. So with that shift comes a change in America's politics. That's just the bottom line. I know a lot of you guys don't like the mainstream media, but according to the mainstream media, Israel did not know that the United States was in direct talks with Israel's big enemy right now, Hamas. And it says here, but one of the Israeli officials said Israel had not learned about the talks from the United States, hearing of them instead through what were described as other channels. So the United States, the Trump administration didn't give a call to Bibi. They didn't give a call to Israel saying, hey, just letting you know we're going to have talks with Hamas. That's what I'm trying to say. When you see America throwing Ukraine under the bus, Israel, don't think that can't happen to you. Don't think that cannot happen to you. Like I've said, when you see all these Americans watching Tucker Carlson, Ian Carroll, Norman Finkelstein, Candace Owens, Theo Vaughn, right? When you see all these Americans, especially American millennials, not boomers are still overwhelmingly pro-Israel, but when you see all these American millennials and Zoomers watching these influencers, I hate that word, but that's the word that's used to describe these people, watching these influencers, you know damn well that a shift is looming through the clouds. You know very well that a shift is looming through the horizon. When you see people like Tucker Carlson talking about foreign policy, America's foreign policy, I mean, I just don't understand this. We're just supporting Israel all the time. I mean, I don't mind Israel. I have no problem with Jewish people. I have a lot of friends who are Israeli. But, I mean, come on. This is just crazy. All right, when you see Candace Owens saying stuff like, well, the Germans did burn the books, but what were those books? Turns out a lot of those books were actually just books pushing transgenderism. And she says this knowing full well that we are in the midst of this huge anti-trans trend in America. Everybody hates transgenderism. Everybody hates the transgender ideology. And don't get me wrong, I'm against the transgender ideology, just in case some people think I'm for it because I said that. But I'm just simply making an observation. Transgenderism is extremely unpopular. Everyone knows this. You can see it as clear as day. You can see it as clear as day. But she says this knowing that Americans generally hate the transgender agenda. So she's sowing seeds is what she's doing. So what seeds does that sow? I hate transgenderism. Transgenderism is bad. I don't want men going into women's bathrooms. I don't want men competing in women's sports. But Hitler also was against transgenderism. Hitler burned the trans books. Hitler might be the good guy, and the whole time we were the bad guys, and then you get people to question the narrative. So it's about sowing seeds. It's about sowing seeds. Theo Von does this sort of thing. They all do these sorts of things. And it's not, and Elon Musk also does this sort of thing with the Hitler salute, and before that, he was saying that the ADL hates white people, and it's all about sowing seeds. That's what this is about. What this sort of rhetoric does is it acts like gateway. It becomes a gateway. So you think, well, Nazis hated transgender ideology. They burned trans books. They must be the good guys. And that's what this does, right? That's what this line of rhetoric does. Or when you hear Tucker Carlson saying stuff like, I mean, I'm no fan of Hitler, but Stalin, we allied with Stalin. So what's that about? That's about what? Questioning the official narrative. So then you start thinking, wait a second, we allied with Stalin. Stalin was bad. Hitler was trying to fight Stalin. Hitler was trying to fight the trans ideology and communism. And Kamala Harris is a communist, and we have communists in America. We're under danger. We're in danger from the very people that Hitler was fighting. Nazis they could have been the good guys. You see, so it's about questioning the narrative just a little bit, just enough to sow seeds into people. And it's actually very dangerous. You have to give people the full story. Am I saying that we should omit facts? No, I'm not. I'm not saying that we should omit facts. But what I am saying is that we have to give the full picture of everything. We should give the full picture of everything. And that goes for any historical event, any historical era. We should give the full picture for everything. Was Stalin bad? Yes. Did the Nazis burn the books of Mr. Hirschfeld? And was Mr. Hirschfeld the biggest LGBT activist in the world at that time? Yes. That's all true. But were those the only books that the Nazis were against? No. They were against a whole bunch of other books that weren't bad. In fact, they were against the Bible. And people don't talk about that, but they wanted to get rid of the Old Testament. So sure, they were against the trans ideology, but they were also against the Old Testament. Are you, Mr. Christian conservative, against the Old Testament? I'm sure you're not. Yes, they were against the trans movement, but here's the thing. Today, you have people who use the trans movement as a way to justify doing all sorts of bad things or collaborating with all sorts of bad people. So Jordan Peterson will collaborate with Camille Paglia against the woke left, against third wave feminism. But Camille Paglia has literally been a spokesperson for NAMBLA. And Camille Paglia wrote a book in which she actually defended pedophilia. So is Jordan Peterson and Camille Paglia against transgenderism? Yes. Does that mean that they're automatically the good guys? No. If you want to ally with someone who was a spokesperson for NAMBLA, you're going to reveal yourself. But Jordan Peterson would. Jordan Peterson will ally with Camille Paglia, which shows that Jordan Peterson is evil. You give it time. You watch. Israel is going to be abandoned. It's like the whore of Babylon. All of her lovers abandon her in the end. And we sit here and say, oh, well, they're our greatest ally and all this. Listen, we were glazing Ukraine for 3 years. Glazing Ukraine for 3 years. Glazing Zelensky for 3 years. And what happened? We just saw America throw Ukraine under the bus. And now all of the Europeans, not all of them, but a lot of the Europeans, all the big European regional powers like Germany, are now saying we can't trust the Americans because they know damn well that America will throw you under the bus. And that's just a matter of fact, right? I'm just saying that as a matter of fact. I'm not saying that I would support America throwing Israel under the bus. I'm not saying that I think that America should go to war against Russia so that we can please our European allies. I'm just saying that this is just a reality. As Mr. Jeffrey Sachs said, America drops its allies like hot potatoes.